What if, what if that perfect backswing position that you've been agonizing over in the mirror is actually the exact thing ruining your golf game?
I mean, it's highly likely.
Right. Well, welcome to today's deep dive. We are pulling apart a really comprehensive biomechanical analysis titled Lead Arm Position at the Top of the Backswing.
It's a great paper.
It is. Okay, let's unpack this because, diving into this research completely changed how I view the golf swing. And our mission today is to just cut through decades of confusing, often contradictory instruction.
There's definitely a lot of that out there.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to uncover the scientific truth behind one of the sport's absolute longest-running debates,
Yeah.
which is where your lead arm should actually be when you reach the top of your swing.
Yeah, that's $1 million question, right?
Exactly. So by the time we finish this deep dive, you're going to stop obsessing over achieving some, picture-perfect pose, and you'll start understanding your own unique swing engine.
Because it is a debate that has consumed everyday golfers and, honestly, elite coaches for generations. Oh, yeah, you see it everywhere.
You do. Open any golf magazine, scroll through any instructional feed, and you see the exact same arguments playing out over and over. One camp argues the lead arm, it must be steep and elevated.
Right.
And they point to these legendary upright ball strikers to prove their point. But then another camp insists it needs to be flatter, more horizontal, wrapped around the torso.
And they have their own legendary players to point to.
Exactly. And the underlying assumption driving all of this, the core problem, is that people think there's one universal geometric truth waiting to be found.
Like a secret code.
Yeah, but the biomechanical research we're dissecting today shatters that assumption entirely. It shows that treating the top of the backswing as a static pose to be copied is just a fundamental misunderstanding of how human movement actually works.
It makes me think about evaluating a golf swing by looking at a static photo at the top of the backswing. It's like taking a snapshot of a roller coaster at its absolute peak. Oh, I like that.
Right. Because, sure, it looks dramatic, but the picture tells you absolutely nothing about the kinetic energy, the G-forces building up, the speed of the cars, or how the track was actually built to handle that drop.
Yeah, it's just a frozen second in time.
Right. It completely ignores the stored energy that makes the ride actually happen in the first place.
And if we push that roller coaster analogy further, trying to guess the physics of the drop just by looking at that frozen image of the first car, it's impossible.
Totally impossible.
The text demands that we evaluate the top position as part of a continuous motion sequence rather than, an isolated checkpoint.
Which changes everything.
It does, because when you look at static photos of elite players, two golfers can look completely opposite at the top of the swing. One might have this high, steep arm structure looking almost vertical.
Right, like their hands are touching the sky.
Yeah, and the other might have a low, flat arm structure wrapped tightly around their ribs. Based purely on the visual geometry, you would think they are playing two entirely different sports.
They really do look that different.
But yet, both of those players arrive at the exact same highly effective delivery position by the middle of the downswing.
Wow.
So a static photo strips away the crucial context of how they got there and, more importantly, how they actually plan to get back down to the ball.
So if the static position isn't what actually matters, what is happening? If it's not a pose we're trying to strike, what is the body actually doing during this phase?
Well, biomechanically speaking, the backswing is not a process of placing the club into a specific spatial coordinate. It's a muscular loading phase.
The loading phase, okay.
Right. The golfer is stretching, rotating, and elevating to organize their body segments to create optimal conditions for the downswing. It's an accumulation of energy.
So it's very active even though it looks like a pause.
Highly active. The muscles, the joints, the fascia, they are all being subjected to specific directional forces. You are essentially winding up this really complex biological spring.
Okay, I want to pause on that term, fascia, because it gets thrown around a lot in sports science, but it's rarely actually explained.
Sure.
When you say we're loading the muscles and the fascia, what does that physical tension actually feel like? Are we talking about like a rubber band effect here, where the direction of the pull completely dictates the direction of the snap?
That is the exact mechanism, yes. Fascia is the connective tissue that wraps around every muscle, bone, and organ in your body.
Okay.
Think of it like a tightly woven, full-body spider web suit just under your skin. When you turn away from the golf ball, you aren't just moving bones.
Right. You're not a skeleton.
Exactly. You are wringing out that connective tissue like a wet towel. The source uses the principle of muscular loading and recoil to explain this.
Muscular loading and recoil.
Yeah. When you stretch the system, you're storing immense tension, and the direction in which your torso, your shoulder complex, your back are stretched, that dictates the required direction of the recoil during the transition.
So the stretch is basically programming the downswing.
Precisely. Every single golf swing contains both vertical and horizontal components, you
Okay.
know. You're always turning to some degree, and you're always lifting the arms to some degree.
You have to do both to hit a golf ball.
Right, but the dominant direction of that load determines the necessary transition strategy.
Ah, the dominant direction.
Yes. The specific way you stretch the rubber band dictates the path it will violently seek when you let it go.
Okay, let's bring this biomechanical science out of the textbook and onto the driving range. The research identifies two distinct elite swing patterns, which it gives us a great way to see how this theory becomes actionable instruction for you.
It really does.
So, if horizontal recoil is all about clearing space, let's start with pattern 1, the more horizontal lead arm.
So in this horizontal pattern, the golfer's lead arm is relatively flat. It moves more horizontally around the torso during the backswing rather than lifting high up.
Okay, I can picture that.
When a player executes this, they are loading their muscular system and that fascial web through a side-to-side rotational stretch.
So the rubber band is being stretched laterally, literally wrapping around the rib cage.
Exactly. The chest, the shoulders, the upper back, and the arm structure are all being loaded heavily in a horizontal plane as the golfer turns their back to the target.
Right. And because of that horizontal stretch, the transition into the downswing requires a corresponding horizontal reorganization, doesn't it?
It has to. When the stored muscular tension recoils, it naturally wants to fire in the exact opposite direction of the stretch.
That makes total sense.
So this means the handle of the golf club must move laterally or even slightly away from its top position early in the downswing to create functional space.
Wait, I have to stop you there because every golf coach on the planet yells, fire your hips at their students.
Oh, I know. It's a huge problem.
It's practically a cliche on the driving range.
Yeah.
We're constantly told that power comes from rapidly clearing the lower body. Are you telling me that firing the hips early is actually what's ruining a flat swinger's game?
Looking closely at the data in the source, that is exactly the danger of generic swing advice. If a golfer with a horizontal flat load rotates their lower body aggressively without allowing the arms and the handle to undergo that lateral reorganization first, the sequence breaks down immediately.
So they just get stuck.
Completely stuck.
Yeah.
The arms get left entirely too far behind the rapidly turning torso. The body physically blocks the trail arm from moving in front of the chest.
Oh, I've felt that. It's an awful feeling.
It is. And when the arms are trapped behind the body like that, the golfer subconsciously knows the club face is never going to reach the ball squarely.
So the brain hits the panic button.
Exactly. The brain introduces massive compensations.
Because the brain always prioritizes making contact with the ball.
Yeah,
Right. Even if it has to break all the rules of a good swing to do it.
that's spot on. The text highlights a cascade of flaws that stem directly from this trapped position, and the most common one is early extension.
Okay, let's unpack early extension, because that's another buzzword we hear all the time.
Yeah.
That is essentially when a player thrusts their pelvis forward closer to the golf ball, right at impact, right?
Yes, exactly. Because the arms are trapped behind the body, the golfer has to stand up and thrust their hips toward the ball just to manufacture physical space for the arms to swing past.
Just so they don't swing right over the top of the ball.
Right. It is a pure survival mechanism.
Are there other compensations for this?
Oh, definitely. Other compensations for this trapped horizontal load include excessive hand action at the last millisecond, trying to flip the club face square,
Right.
or massive block shots that fly dead right, or even a rapid snap hook club face closure.
And golfers spend thousands of dollars on lessons trying to fix an early extension or a hook.
Thousands. And they never realize that the root cause is simply firing the lower body before the horizontal recoil has had a chance to organize the arms.
That is wild. Okay, so if horizontal recoil is all about clearing space laterally, what happens to the golfer who is built differently? The player who doesn't stretch sideways, but stretches upward. This brings us to pattern 2, the more vertical lead arm.
Right, this represents the contrasting pattern. Here, the golfer creates significant vertical extension during the backswing.
So they look very tall at the top.
Very tall. The lead arm rises upward across the chest, and the hands finish much higher relative to the shoulder line, often way above the trail shoulder.
So instead of wrapping the rubber band around their ribs, they're stretching it up toward the sky.
Yeah. And what's fascinating here is how the text visualizes this specific loading pattern. It describes it as a spiral.
A spiral.
Yeah, a spiral. During the backswing, the golfer is extending upward while simultaneously rotating. The muscles of the torso, the shoulder complex, and the lead side are being loaded through a combination of elevation, rotation, and lengthening. You are stretching a spiral upwards and backwards.
Okay, which means the recoil response has to be entirely different than the flat swinger.
Completely different.
If I'm stretching a spiral upward, the immediate recoil has to go downward. It makes me think of pulling a heavy industrial garage door straight down.
That is brilliant.
Right. If you want to close a heavy garage door, you use your lats, your core, and you pull straight down to the floor. You don't try to slide it horizontally.
That physical sensation of pulling straight down is the perfect analog for the vertical transition. For the vertical player, the transition strategy cannot be about moving the handle around the body or out toward the ball.
They can't clear space laterally.
Exactly. They must direct the handle more vertically downward during the early downswing. The handle actually works down through the lead arm structure before it ever starts moving outward and around toward impact.
And if we stick with that heavy garage door metaphor, if you grab that door and try to aggressively shove it sideways, the rollers are going to bind up in the tracks.
You lose all your leverage.
Right. If a vertical player tries to move their arms outward too early, essentially trying to copy the horizontal player's transition, the mechanics just bind up.
They absolutely do. And the research maps out exactly what happens when that vertical player tries to slide the garage door horizontally. The shaft of the golf club steepens aggressively. The lead arm separates violently from the chest wall, and the club head moves completely outside the intended delivery corridor.
Oh, the dreaded over-the-top move.
Exactly. You end up chopping straight down across the golf ball, hitting massive slices or heavy pull hooks.
But if you let it happen naturally...
Right. If you let the vertical recoil happen naturally, if you let the handle lower efficiently during transition, it controls that outward thrust.
Yeah.
It keeps the arms connected to the torso, it organizes the shaft beautifully during the early downswing, and it produces a highly functional, powerful path into the ball.
This makes me realize just how deeply flawed traditional one-size-fits-all coaching can be.
It's terrifying, honestly.
I mean, if you're a coach trying to teach a vertically loaded player to swing like a horizontally loaded player, you aren't just giving them bad advice. You are literally fighting their stored kinetic energy.
You are fighting physics, and you are fighting their fundamental anatomy.
Which you can't win.
No, you can't. The text emphasizes a critical insight here. Determining your lead arm position by trying to copy another golfer is a guaranteed recipe for disaster.
And yet we see it constantly.
Constantly on the driving range. A golfer falls in love with the aesthetic of a specific tour pro's swing. Maybe they love the high, graceful hands of one player or the flat, powerful look of another.
And then they spend countless hours in front of a mirror trying to mimic that exact pose.
Yes. What they are completely ignoring is that they do not share that pro's muscular loading strategy, their fascial tension, their transition sequence, or their physical dimensions.
There is a really striking point from the source that just hammers this home. It states that trying to force two golfers with different natural tendencies into the same exact top position actually reduces their coordination rather than improving it.
It's a huge step backward.
Think about how profound that is for your next practice session. By trying to look perfect, you are actively making your body less coordinated.
That's the tragic irony of it.
The goal of coaching and the goal of your own practice isn't to make your swing look like a textbook diagram. The goal is to make your torso, your pelvis, and the golf club work as one highly coordinated, efficient system.
Which leads us to the most important question for anyone listening.
Okay.
If you cannot simply copy a famous swing, how do you know what to do?
Right. Where do you start?
The correct position has to be dictated by your individual physical reality.
Exactly. How can you figure out which pattern is actually right for your game? It all comes down to evaluating your own individual physical blueprint.
The source provides a comprehensive list of physiological factors that dictate a player's ideal pattern. It removes the guesswork entirely.
Let's hear them.
These factors include shoulder mobility, thoracic rotation, arm length, torso proportions, how your shoulder blades move, the structure of your grip, and your natural release style.
That's a lot of variables.
It is, but all of these anatomical variables act together to dictate how your body naturally wants to load and recoil.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's unpack just a couple of those factors so you can understand how this applies to your body.
Sure.
Let's look at thoracic rotation, which is essentially how well your mid-back can turn. If you sit in a chair right now, keep your knees perfectly still, and try to twist your shoulders back behind you, you are testing your thoracic spine.
And you'll see huge differences between people.
Huge differences. Some people can turn 90 degrees easily. Some people get stuck at 45 degrees. How does that single variable change the swing?
Well, thoracic mobility is a massive determinant. If a golfer has restricted thoracic rotation, meaning their mid-back is tight and they cannot turn deeply, they often have to lift their arms vertically just to artificially lengthen their backswing and feel like they're making a full turn.
Oh, that makes sense.
Their body naturally seeks a higher lead arm to generate tension because they can't get it from derp rotation.
So they have to compensate with vertical lift.
Right. Conversely, a player with immense thoracic mobility might turn so deeply that a high arm position would actually overstretch their system and cause them to lose balance.
So they say flat.
Yeah, they naturally gravitate toward a flatter, more horizontal arm position that perfectly matches their deep shoulder turn.
And what about arm length? I know in basketball they call it the ape index, your wingspan compared to your height. If someone has unusually long arms relative to their torso, how does that alter the geometry of the swing?
Well, a player with exceptionally long arms is dealing with a very large swing radius.
A huge arc.
Exactly. If they try to elevate those long arms vertically into a high lead arm position, the club gets incredibly far away from their center of gravity.
That sounds hard to control.
It becomes incredibly difficult to control the mass of the club head during the rapid change of direction and transition. Their body will often naturally prefer a slightly lower, flatter lead arm to keep that long lever system more manageable and connected to the rotation of the torso.
And the opposite for shorter arms.
Yes. You ask a player with short arms to swing perfectly flat, and they might not generate enough mark width to hit the ball anywhere. You are asking their bodies to perform a task they are simply not structurally optimized to execute.
Which is exactly why the text advises a complete paradigm shift in how we evaluate our swings. We have to completely eliminate the aesthetic questions.
Absolutely.
Stop filming your swing and asking, is my lead arm too high? Or is my arm too flat? Those questions are fundamentally flawed because they're based purely on appearance, not function.
The correct questions pulled straight from the research are purely functional. First, does the position match my movement pattern?
Right.
Second, does the muscular load support the required transition? Meaning, if you are stretching the fascia horizontally, are you reorganizing horizontally? Or if you stretch vertically, are you pulling a garage door down?
The garage door test, I love that.
Yeah. And third, can I move the handle into an effective delivery position without compensation?
Without hitting the panic button.
Exactly. If you find yourself having to stall your body, jump off the ground early, or aggressively flip your hands at the last millisecond to square the club face, the answer is no. Your top position, no matter how pretty it looks on camera, does not match your anatomy.
Synthesizing all of these complex biomechanics and anatomical insights, we want to give you clear, actionable takeaways that you can apply the very next time you pull a club out of your bag. Let's distill this into 3 key lessons.
Perfect.
Number 1, different backswing structures can produce similar, highly effective delivery conditions, but only if the transition is organized correctly to match the load.
And number 2, you must conceptualize the backswing as a dynamic, muscular loading phase, not a static pose. You're winding up a biological spring to store energy. The specific direction of that stretch dictates every single movement that follows.
And number 3, the swing pattern must match your unique physical blueprint. You cannot rent someone else's swing mechanics if you do not own their skeleton.
That's a great way to put it. Connecting this to the broader philosophy of athletic improvement, this research really changes how you measure success on the practice tee.
It does.
Ultimate performance is not determined by the visual geometry of your laid arm. Performance is determined by the quality of your muscular load, the corresponding direction of your transition, and the efficiency of your release through the golf ball. Different structures can and do succeed at the highest levels of the sport, but the pattern Absolutely must match the player.
I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to ponder something that builds on the science but takes it completely off the golf course. Think about your daily life outside of those 4 hours you spend on the links,
This is a great point.
right? How might sitting at a desk, hunched over a keyboard for 40 hours a week for the last decade, be silently shaping your thoracic rotation and your shoulder mobility?
It absolutely does.
Or consider your athletic history. Did you grow up playing baseball, tennis, hockey? Those repeated rotational patterns from your youth have literally molded your muscle fascia and joint mobility over decades.
It's all baked in.
The reality is, your body might have already chosen its ideal lead arm pattern long before you even pulled a club out of the bag today. Your job isn't to fight that history to look like a model in a magazine. Your job is to discover what your history is and build a powerful, efficient swing that honors it.
Fighting your own biomechanics is a battle you will ultimately lose, and usually it results in injury or just endless frustration. Embracing your unique anatomy, however, is where consistency, power, and longevity truly come from. Understand your load, understand your required recoil, and let your body do what it is uniquely designed to do.
If you found today's episode valuable, please subscribe to our channel. Every subscription helps us continue producing high-quality educational content for golfers and coaches worldwide. If you have a question, topic idea, or golf challenge you would like us to research, test, and explain, please leave a comment, contact us on LinkedIn, or send us an email. Don't forget to explore the eCoach 360-degree Golf Intelligence platform and experience our 48-hour free trial. You can also join our 30-day Golf Biomechanics, Kinematics, Ground Reaction Forces, and Club Kinematic certification program to deepen your understanding of golf performance.